were studying for an exam Saturday afternoon when the shots started ringing out. And I want to bring in Joseph Oduro, who is a teaching assistant at Brown University, was in the classroom leading a study session when the gunman opened fire. Thank you so much for being here. I am so sorry for what you had to witness. I'm glad that you were okay. Can you explain what went down?
It's hard to really put to words. It all really happened so fast. I think the number one thing for me is just making sure everybody's okay and the community is safe and everybody feels like there's some type of peace on campus.
Yeah, understandable. Can you just describe what was happening in the classroom when the gunman came in?
Yeah, we just finished up our last review session of the year. And then we ended a little bit late. It ended around like 4:03. And I was giving my closing remarks. And then as soon as everybody stood up and started exiting the room, we heard what sounded like gunshots outside the door. And we heard screaming from various students. And then about 5 seconds later, we see a gunman enter the room. And then he just screamed something and just started shooting.
So you saw the gunman enter the room where you were?
Yeah, I was standing in the front of the auditorium and he came through the back. So we pretty much directly made eye contact. And then as soon as that happened, I looked at my students and signaled them to come to the front, and then I just ducked.
And was the gunman shooting when he entered the room?
No, he came in, pointed the gun, and then he screamed something. I don't know what he said, and none of the other students know what he said. But yeah, then he just started shooting right after that. So from that moment to the first gunshot, it was probably around 5 to 7 seconds.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that you already had heard the gunshot outside the classroom, and then all of a sudden he appeared in your classroom, screamed something, and
we heard what sounded like gunshots outside, yes, but my mind didn't necessarily go to gunshots right away, just because we're at Brown University. It's an Ivy League institution. You don't really assume the first loud sound you hear is gunshots until you see the gun right in front of you and you could see it going on.
I can't even imagine how terrifying that was. You're the person in charge. You're the TA in the classroom helping these students study, and you look up and there is a man with a gun, and he started to shoot in the auditorium where you were leading the study session. I know it's probably a blur, but what unfolded from there?
As soon as he started shooting, I just wanted to make sure that the rest of the students and I were safe. And then from the time that transpired, I made sure to call 911 and DPS. And I tried to let them know the situation, but with it still being extremely fresh and it honestly feeling like super unreal, I couldn't really explain any real details other than that we were in the room of Harrison Holly 166, and I was with around 20 students hiding behind that desk. So it was mostly just mumbling, trying to get as much help as I can.
Around 20 students behind one desk. Can you describe the sort of physical layout of where you were a little bit more?
Yeah, so the desk is probably a length of around 10 feet or so, and we all just hid behind it as best as we could. There wasn't too much space, but we made do because at the end of the day, we just all wanted to survive.
And was he shooting towards you?
He was shooting. The first couple gunshots went straight to the chalkboard, exactly where I was standing. So who knows, if I didn't duck, maybe I'm not here today. That's something we don't know.
Did it appear indiscriminate, or did it appear that he was looking for somebody?
That part, I'm not too sure. As soon as I locked eyes with him and his gun, I immediately looked at my residence and dropped down, and I didn't look up until DPS was here telling us that everything was going to be okay.
Do you have any sense of how long he was in the classroom shooting before he left?
It honestly felt like an eternity. So I don't know how long. Time just went.
Were any of the students who you were trying to protect injured?
There was actually a girl who was sitting right next to me. She had 2 bullets in her legs, and she's currently at the hospital right now.
What's her status? How is she doing? Do you know?
I left the hospital yesterday, so I don't know her exact status, but I gave her a call yesterday, and she was in good spirits. And I know her surgery is taking place this morning, so I'm just praying that her surgery goes well.
Did you have training for this?
As much training as you could possibly get when there's an active shooter. You're never going to be prepared when it actually takes place. So I just wanted to make sure that I was okay and everybody else was okay, and I did that the best way I felt like I could.
I mean, you're 21 years old, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm 21.
So you are a teaching assistant, rather, a TA at an Ivy League institution, as you said. You didn't expect this. Sadly, though, you are part of a generation that is all too familiar with mass shootings.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's just the society we live in today.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Honestly, my heart just goes to the students that didn't make it out that room, and the students that are in the hospital right now. I haven't really had the chance to process things myself, but I just want to make sure everybody else is okay, and then I can worry about my wounds because my wounds are approved now.
Because your wounds are?
They're not fatal like the others.
Yeah. But it's trauma, which is a wound. There's no question about that. And there's also no question that you acted heroically and protected not only yourself, but the 20 or so students who you were just helping to get through an exam. I'm sure that was the part of the day that you all thought was going to be, or certainly the students thought was going to be the toughest part of their day, studying for an exam. What was the topic?
It's principles of economics, so it's everything we learned throughout the semester. So from international trade to supply and demand, to microeconomics to macroeconomics, everything basic when it comes to econ.
Yeah, well, that was obviously not the hardest part of the day, and sounds like it was just absolutely horrifying. But I just want to reiterate that it's very clear that you really helped your students as much as you could, and in a remarkable way. And I just hope that you continue to take care of yourself.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay.